Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond Indigo's Facebook Live. My name's Kelly Baltzell. If you haven't watched our 100+ shows before this, welcome. Today, I have a dear friend, Mark McGaunn, and we were just talking before we went on air, like, how long have we known each other? And it's like 17 years, right, Mark? It's been a while.
I was very young back then.
So was I. We are not where we are right now. But tell us a little bit about yourself, Mark.
So I'm a CPA and certified financial planner. We're based outside Boston, but we work nationally with vet and dental clients. And people say, why do you mention dental clients? And we usually tell people it's so veterinarians can commiserate that there are people in other fields of healthcare that have the exact same problems. So you're not alone.
You got some friends in another vertical, right?
Correct.
But it's not uncommon in the veterinary space for a lot of companies to work with both verticals because they're so similar. So, yep.
You can change our name and the vet or dental in our literature and exact same problems, concerns, staffing, financing, patient connectivity, marketing, they all have the same issues.
Yeah, it's true. Well, speaking of issues, we're kind of getting to the end of 2020, the most infamous year that's going to go down in history in a long time. And I was talking with you, like, what are veterinary hospitals doing that is working, and what are they doing what aren't they doing that they should be doing that you've seen with your client base?
Well, from a financial standpoint, we know a lot of people are highly focused on the PPP process, forgiveness, payback, idle loans, and how they complement the PPP. We're telling people our client base to basically defer the forgiveness process as long as they can. Most banks haven't put in the money for infrastructure. Some of the larger banks have, but it's very hard for small to mid-sized banks to do the forgiveness process manually, so they're creating technology tools to accept that, but it's not going smoothly. And if there's automatic forgiveness above the 50,000 threshold that there is now promulgated by the SBA, that hopefully they won't have to do a lot of legwork. So we're telling practices to wait as long as possible. Regulation came out 2 weeks ago from the SBA that said that the forgiveness period can be as long as 10 months past the 24-week period. So theoretically, you could be filing for forgiveness in August of 2021. So wow. We're waiting to see what the election results are and what legislation can be promulgated after that. So we're in a holding pattern. Our clients are in a holding pattern. So we tell people not to stress.
Yeah, and that PP loan has been nothing but stress, So
the intent was good. The execution was marginal.
Yes, exactly. But it's government, right? Come on. They're always a little bumpy in the government department. And then speaking of year end, is anybody even realizing it's year end? I mean, we're all just, a lot of veterinary hospitals are working in the red. They're just trying to find people to hire. We're seeing some new veterinary hospitals starting. What are you seeing?
Well, I know that there's still a lot of activity from COVID. We were out in Nebraska last week visiting some clients that we traveled to by car. I wouldn't recommend driving 23 hours. It was a lot longer than 23 hours spread out over a number of days. But even now, there's staff we just got notified today that by contact tracing from our client that one of their doctors isn't feeling well and has COVID-like symptoms. And although we were social distancing and we were pariahs out there for wearing masks, it's still affecting hospitals 6 to 7 months after the major influx of COVID to the U.S. So I don't think it's going away anytime soon. So they have to hire a replacement doctor to fill the scheduling slots that are already out forward booked. We're seeing a number of startups. We've just had 3 startups in the past week contact us. So I think usually I speak about working in a down economy and doubling down. And I think everybody took my advice, whether anecdotally or they actually saw my advice. So whether it's mobile practices, acquiring a startup facility, now that, there's a lot of commercial real estate available, in our area outside Boston, some areas are ghost towns. And I think landlords will be doing anything they can to put a paying tenant in vacant real estate. So, if people are looking to double down on their growth or acquisition strategy, second locations, initial location for startup, banks are lending, I think it's a perfect time. I acquired my practice in the middle of a very bad economy because I had the same mentality. If I was going to do it, I might as well do it when everybody else was running. So we're telling our vet hospitals, and we're even telling our dentists. We just had a startup dental practice that set up shop in the middle of a very competitive area because he said, it can't get any worse than this, we hope.
Right, but you're right. I mean, we tell clients that too. When COVID started, like, don't back off your marketing. This is when you push forward and you market more.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I was talking to a client out in Washington State this morning, potential client, and they said, what should we worry about? I said, client acquisition. That's all you should be focused on.
Yeah, and we're seeing the same in the clients that doubled down, like you said, on their marketing and really push. They're flourishing, right? Like they're going strong, and in fact, they were some of the only hospitals around them that stayed open or kept their visibility high, right? And Google's been quote on sale. Facebook ads have been on sale because there's less demand for the digital marketing real estate. So since those two platforms are auction based, less people bidding, the rates don't go as high, right? So they're less. But so that means too that there's not as many people putting ads up there. So visibility is easier to be seen right now because there's less competition on the screen. So I'm with you on that, on the doubling down part.
I think from a marketing standpoint, pet owners are looking for somebody to reach out to. And there's just a high level of uncertainty. And I think people are feeling disconnected and they want to be connected. So they want somebody that's going to address their needs. And how do you get those people? Marketing. I mean, we tell people all the time, you can cut other expenses, but don't cut your marketing budget. It's counterintuitive.
It is, and they get panicked about it.
Right.
And they do, but you're right. So we're seeing the same thing too. We're trying to talk to people about like the winter and, what do you do in marketing? And we're a goal-based marketing company. So we discuss goals, not to-do lists. Like, what are you trying to do? If even to the point of like, how do we situate your marketing so you look appealing for a doctor to want to work there, right? Because we've had some clients say, wow, we got the new doctor partly because you made us look so good. You made us look modern and you made us look compelling. I mean, seriously, we didn't even go into that originally thinking that, but it's true. Like, younger doctors aren't going to work for something they think isn't cutting edge and modern, so.
Nobody wants old and stodgy.
No one's old and stodgy. That's just so yesterday, right?
Right.
So yesterday. So that's good. So we've got financial insecurity, unknown, not insecurity, with the PPP lingering on into 2021, it sounds like. How are hospitals doing? Are they having a good year aggregate that you're seeing across your client base?
Most of our clients are 7 to 10, even more % successful than they were in the prior year. There was some dip initially, February, March timeframe when people were out with COVID or, indicated that they could potentially have COVID and there was no backfill for their appointment slots. But now pretty much we have a lot of hospitals actually telling us they love the curbside drop-off because they've learned how to make it a lot more efficient than pet owners entering the hospital and potentially creating longer appointment times.
Right.
But some people that are more one-to-one aren't appreciating having to talk to every client on the phone. It's kind of like children being home from school. They're missing that one-on-one contact in person.
Mm-hmm. And it really just depends on the hospital. And also, for us people who live in the northern states here, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when the weather really gets serious, because 30 to 40 below is not out of the realm of possibility here in Minnesota, right? I mean, it's just a fact.
Right.
But
I think we had talked about before we got on about tax planning. That dip combined with increased revenues at the end of past quarter potentially evened out their tax situation, or there could be some potential increase. So we're telling people to still do tax planning, which we do for our clients, just to give them some indication of what's going on. And hopefully with PPP money, they've had some extra cash flow and they've been able to save a little more money.
Speaking of tax planning and the PPP, shouldn't be people reaching out now to their CPAs to talk about tax planning? Because I'm guessing your life first quarter will be pretty hectic.
We don't want panic calls in the first quarter of 2021. Nor we're doing tax planning now. We've been doing it, the past 3 or 4 months for a lot of clients just to give them an edge. But trying to annualize where they're going to be at the end of the year is sometimes extrapolating with not accurate enough numbers. The later a tax plan can be towards the end of the year. It's not more timely information, it's more accurate, so we have to balance that. But we want to give some people some indication of where they could end up next year. Nothing is as good as doing the actual tax return, but at least there's some indication of what you could potentially do to forestall any potential negative impact from taxes. Right,
exactly. And don't assume that your CPA is sitting around eating bonbons the first quarter.
That would be awesome.
You're like, sign me up for that, right?
If I could leverage that job, I would do it 12 months a year.
That would be awesome. Yeah, no. So from here until corporate taxes are traditionally due March 15th. Last year they were pushed out, so we'll see what happens this year.
I don't anticipate any extended deadlines unless there's a huge resurgence, but it just created a nightmare for clients as well. There was a lot of confusion on deadlines, on filing. We had, people think that they had until October to file their corporate tax return, and it was just crazy.
It was crazy, and it's still going to be crazy, and we'll probably be seeing some of that repercussions for years, knowing the IRS and their slowness of picking up on stuff. But
well, I did speak to the IRS about some client issues last week, and they're still, a lot of them are still working from home. If returns were sent in manually, nobody's touched them. They probably won't be touched by a human hand for months.
Well, that's good to know, right?
So any correspondence that's been written to the IRS is sitting in a bin somewhere.
Wow, that's comforting.
Yeah.
Because you don't know where.
You don't know where. There's a lot of uncertainty with them too. They've calls are being routed to their houses. It's not a perfect working environment for clients or them as well. And they're doing their best too. Most people that I've spoken to there are, going above and beyond to help because they just realize people need help during this time.
Yeah, and that they're trying, right? And God bless them. I mean, who grows up to become an IRS agent?
But I did have a good experience with one client. She heard my Golden and my Newfoundland barking, and she wanted to know what kind of dogs they were. And I told her, she said, "Oh, I love big dogs. Sure, I'll reduce that penalty."
You're like, yay, they earned their dog chow for the day, right?
Now I have to get a barking dog tape and play it every time I talk to an IRS agent.
That is so awesome. Well, speaking of talking, if people want to reach out to you to talk about their own financial issues and end of year and taxes and all that fun stuff, because you're the guy, where should they find you?
They can visit our website, McGaunSquadron.com, the world's longest email or web address. Nobody likes typing that email either unless they save it. We'll shorten it someday.
Someday, right? Okay. And what do they just go to the website and hit contact?
Just go to the website, or they can call us, 781-489-6651. They'll talk to me. I'm their point of contact. We have a very talented staff, but I like to talk to every client. I tell clients and potential clients, call me early, call me often. We don't want a question unanswered, and we don't want people to worry about things that could be cured with a phone call.
That is so correct. I agree. Well, thank you so much, Mark, today coming and giving us some information about the financial wherewithal of what clinics should be looking at and kind of getting us ready for end of year.
Well, thanks for having me on, Kelly. You are the guru of marketing, and everybody I talk to, I say you're going to get somebody that's practical, down to earth, has a very good dry sense of humor, and won't steer you wrong. So thanks for being a help to all our clients as well.
You are so welcome. It's been a pleasure.